Imagine looking up at the night sky only to know that beyond the twinkling stars lies a chaotic traffic jam. A swirling cloud of broken satellites, shattered rocket parts, and leftover debris from decades of space exploration. This invisible menace, known as space junk, is threatening the safety of our space missions and the future of exploration itself. But just how bad is the problem, and what's being done to fix it? Stick around as we explore the growing crisis of orbital debris and whether it's getting worse. First, let's break it down. Space junk, or orbital debris, refers to any man-made object in space that no longer serves a useful purpose. This includes old satellites, used rocket stages, fragments from collisions, and even tools lost by astronauts. There are millions of these pieces orbiting Earth, ranging from tiny paint flecks to bus-sized chunks of metal. According to NASA, there are over 27,000 tracked objects larger than a softball in orbit. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Estimates suggest there could be over 170 million pieces of debris smaller than 1 centimeter, traveling at speeds up to 17,500 miles per hour. At those speeds, even the tiniest fragment can cause catastrophic damage to active satellites or spacecraft. Space exploration has been ongoing since the 1950s, and with each mission we've left behind a trail of debris. But a few key events have significantly worsened the problem. In 2007, China conducted an anti-satellite missile test, deliberately destroying one of its old weather satellites. This created more than 3,000 pieces of debris, many of which are still in orbit. 2 years later, in 2009, an operational communications satellite collided with a defunct Russian satellite, generating thousands more fragments. These incidents triggered what scientists call the Kessler syndrome, a hypothetical scenario where collisions create a chain reaction, exponentially increasing debris and making certain orbits unusable for generations. The impacts of space junk go beyond science fiction. They're a real threat to modern life. Here's how. Space junk endangers the satellites we rely on for GPS, weather forecasting, communication, and more. Losing these would disrupt essential services worldwide. The International Space Station, ISS, regularly performs debris avoidance maneuvers to prevent collisions. Even a small fragment could puncture the station, putting lives at risk. Replacing damaged satellites and avoiding collisions costs billions of dollars annually. For example, SpaceX has had to spend millions to protect its growing Starlink satellite constellation from debris. Space junk could make it too dangerous to launch new missions, hindering our efforts to explore the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Unfortunately, the problem is getting worse. With the rise of commercial space companies like SpaceX, Amazon's Project Kuiper, and OneWeb, the number of satellites in orbit is skyrocketing. SpaceX alone has plans to deploy over 42,000 satellites for its Starlink internet network. While these mega constellations promise incredible technological advancements, they also increase the risk of collisions. Experts warn that without intervention, low Earth orbit could become so congested that space exploration and satellite use may become unsustainable within decades. Thankfully, the global community is starting to address the issue of space junk. Let's take a closer look at some of the solutions. Organizations like the U.S. Space Command and ESA's Space Debris Office actively track and catalog orbital debris, issuing warnings to satellite operators about potential collisions. Countries and private companies are developing technologies to clean up space. For instance, ClearSpace One, backed by the European Space Agency, plans to capture and remove a defunct satellite using a robotic arm. Japan's Astroscale is testing a magnetic system to deorbit defunct satellites. The US is exploring laser systems that could nudge smaller debris out of orbit. Satellites are now being designed with end-of-life disposal in mind. This includes having fuel reserves to deorbit themselves or being placed in graveyard orbits far from active satellites. Treaties like the United Nations Outer Space Treaty encourage responsible behavior in space. However, experts argue that stricter international regulations are needed to prevent future debris. Emerging technologies aim to create a coordinated system for managing orbital traffic, similar to air traffic control. This would reduce the likelihood of collisions. While current efforts are a good start, solving the space junk crisis requires long-term commitment. Here are some future possibilities. Instead of treating debris as waste, companies are exploring ways to recycle materials for use in space construction. Establishing enforceable guidelines for satellite operators could help minimize debris from new launches. The more people understand the problem, the greater the push for solutions. Campaigns and documentaries can inspire action. Space is vast, but our use of it is limited by the mess we leave behind. The issue of space junk is a wake-up call, reminding us to act responsibly, not just on Earth, but beyond it. With innovation, cooperation, and determination, we can clean up our orbital backyard and ensure that space remains a place of wonder and possibility for future generations. So, what do you think? Can humanity solve the space junk problem before it's too late? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more out-of-this-world content. If you enjoyed this video, share it with your friends. Let's spread awareness about the growing crisis of space junk and inspire change together. Until next time, stay curious.